Hey, Gunslingers, Chief Power here, your Gunslinger Chief. Excited to spend a few minutes with you on this next Chief's Corner. Hey, one of the things that every Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force prides himself in is being a Chief Translator. It's our job to understand the commander's mission, vision, priorities, and communicate that really, really well to everybody. But that includes also sometimes finding opportunities to translate to everybody, just important initiatives and principles that we need to hear. And, real recently, Colonel Picklesheimer, our wing commander, we got a chance to spend just a few minutes connecting with all the first sergeants in the 67 Cyberspace Wing. And one of the topics that came up that they said, hey, if there's one thing we'd love to get maybe just a little bit of help on, it's reinforcing the principle that, as gunslingers, as airmen, NCOs, as leaders in this wing, we're empowered. And it made me really reflect and kind of think about, the art of empowerment. It's a term, being empowered. It's something we've heard and known and seen for probably a long time. As a matter of fact, our 16th Air Force commander, Lieutenant General Kennedy, every NOTAM that is sent out by the 16th Air Force headquarters that he signs closes with empowered airmen, delivering outcomes for the nation. So we live in a very operational environment where we do our incredible work we do in, from, through cyberspace. We have to know that we're empowered. But to be honest with you, I don't know if I've ever had a lesson or anybody really explain how to empower somebody. So Chiefs, we love to come up with acronyms to help us remember and reflect. So I'm going to share with you today what empowered means. And really kind of go back to a lesson that I learned from an incredible leader in my career. So I had a chance to work for and with and learn from a great commander that I got a chance to serve with. His name is Colonel Kevin Childs. He was my squadron commander at the time when we were stationed at Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, Hawaii. Today serves as the deputy commander to the White House Communications Agency. But he really helped instill and teach me about empowerment. And I remember he had a saying. He always said, "Hey Lance, it's my job to make sure you understand my vision." And he would say, "I'm going to tell you, I want to see a barn get painted. There's this old barn out there. It's just not where it needs to be, and I want you to paint the barn." And then he reminded me it's my job to really think about, how are we going to paint that barn? Who's going to come up with the color scheme? What options do we have? What kind of, are we going to use paint rollers? Are we going to use paint brushes? Who's going to be the ones painting? I've never painted a barn before. I got to figure this out. But he reminded me, he needs this important job done, but he's empowering us to execute it. He's not going to be the one doing it. He's not going to be standing over our shoulder, but he's trusting us. And when I think of the word empower, and again, Chiefs, we come up with acronyms. That E, that first letter of empower, E, it really starts with trust. But in this case, when you empower somebody, you're entrusting them. You're believing in them to complete this important task. And we do it all the time in our profession of arms. In the United States Air Force, we're very focused on mission command. Being able to operate in an ACE, agile combat employment environment. And we have to believe in our airmen who are very capable, who are mission-ready airmen who can execute the mission, and we empower them to do that. But it starts with trust, and we entrust you. But, moving along in the word empower, M, motivate. So it's my job to make you know why it's so important for you to execute this mission. Why is it important to paint this barn? It's something that we all deserve to understand really well, so it can resonate with us, so we can believe in it, so we can truly be all in what we do. The P, proximity. Just because I'm empowered doesn't mean that the person who has empowered me is going to disappear and never be seen or heard from again. As a leader who empowers others, we still got to stick around. We got to be close. Our previous wing commander, Colonel Sean Kern, always said, proximity breeds care. So staying close to those things that are important. So when I empower airmen with important responsibilities, I love checking in and seeing how they're doing. But in turn, when I'm empowered, I love keeping my bosses informed with how I'm doing. And certainly if I'm running into hiccups, if I'm painting the barn and I don't have the right paint, if I don't have the tools or the equipment I need, you got to stay close to those around you. The next one, the O, opportunity. I'm a big believer that, we should have a perspective of being an E and not being an O. And I'm not talking about enlisted versus officer. I'm talking about somebody who, instead of always having a perspective of, oh, I've got to do this. I've got to take my kids to baseball practice. I've got to cut the grass. I've got to paint a barn. Well, maybe we could change the vowel to an E and kind of have a perspective of, I get to do this. I get to spend time with my kids and build memories. I get the responsibility of completing this task. It's so important that somebody's entrusting me to do, and I understand the why behind, and they're close enough where I can keep them informed. But we have to have the perspective of it being an opportunity. The W of empower for me is wisdom. I'm a big believer that you've only seen as far down the road as you've been. I literally have never driven further than the point in time that I've experienced in my journey. So, I've never painted a barn before, but there's a lot of people who have. Maybe I can get some advice from them. So whether I'm being empowered, I have a duty and obligation to find somebody to coach me through things that I've never learned on my own and garner wisdom from their experiences. Or if I'm empowering others, I owe to them, again, stay close. Proximity breeds care, but also coach them along the way. We don't want them to make the same mistakes that we've learned from in the past. I've always heard from those before me that there's times when you got to be a coach, but there's also times when you need to be a cheerleader too. And that's where the E comes in, encourage. We owe it to our airmen, to our gunslingers to encourage them. This is an incredible mission that we empower our airmen to achieve. And we do a great job at it. I like to say, when duty calls, the gunslingers of the 67th are the ones on speed dial. We get the first call. So you do a great job at it. So when you are empowering others, it's important to cheerlead and encouraging them along the way. And that last one, really, the R, resilience. I think a lot of us probably remember the old saying. I think it came from Thomas Edison. When he invented the light bulb, he really reflected on the fact that he didn't really fail. He just found 1,000 ways to not do it. And I think when we're empowered, those who are entrusting us, those who are motivating us, those who stay close, proximity. This opportunity we have, we're seeking wisdom, we're seeking encouragement, but we're also, there's times when we're just not going to succeed on our first attempt. We have to understand that, mistakes are going to happen along the way. If you're entrusting me to carry something out, then that means you're not going to do it and you're believing in me to execute it. And sometimes giving people the flexibility to learn from failure. Failure in many ways is that next step in progress and ultimately success and a great experience. So empowering airmen is so important in what we do in the 67th Cyberspace Wing. If you're an NCO in this wing, if you're a senior NCO, if you're a CGO, heck, if you're a junior enlisted airman, if you're a civilian, you're empowered. You're empowered. We believe in you. And we're excited to see what you achieve with the empowered vision, this mission, and this capability that we provide combatant commanders to achieve national objectives every single day. So I'm excited. I know you're excited, and I'm excited we can be empowered together. Keep doing great things, gunslingers.